Hey there, friends and villagers. Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, a copyrighted edition for our video channel. Thanks for being here. So it's been kind of cool in Montana, and then today it got hot again. And I was just outside sweating up a storm, and back with you. This is a letters segment, not a missing person segment. So if you're looking for missing people, move on. But as I've stated many times, the letters are good. I pick good letters. And if you could just turn this on in the background, it helps me while you're doing your work. Every minute it's watched, it helps me. So please be patient. If you don't like one letter, one's coming right afterwards. So this is from a lady in Northern California. Hey Dave, a little background on me. My husband and I are both retired. He's retired at Redding Police Department, and I from Shasta College. We're avid hikers, and this year completed the Triple Crown of Hiking: Pacific Coast Trail 2018, CDT 2021, and the Appalachian Trail 2023. We hike 8 miles every other day to stay in shape. Now that is what you do in retirement to stay healthy. That is exactly it. We maintain a trail that leads from our home within a camp to a reservoir. The trail follows a creek outside of Redding. With the exception of the property that we're on, it's adjacent to a camp, and we have to pass through it with no other homes. The reservoir is to keep the decomposing dirt out of a creek. It is not accessible by car. To fish it, the folks have to walk in from Highway 299 about 1.5 miles steeply uphill. For your understanding, Highway 299 is on the other side of a ridge, Whiskeytown Lake East. The camp has seasonal homes used sporadically. We call the camp home, though we are usually only there part-time. This is significant. We're the primary users of this private trail. We bought into the camp in 2016. Prior to that, trail had fallen into disrepair and was no longer used. In 2017, we were gone from April to September. In 2018, we were gone from April to September. In 2019, we were gone March until August. In 2020, I had my sighting. In 2021, we were gone from April to September. In 2022, we were gone January to May. It is also a year my husband, while in an underground cave, dislocated his shoulder and torn his rotator cuff. Ick, that hurts, and that is a long recovery. It was late in June 2020, about 10 a.m. on a clear sunny morning. We were walking back from the reservoir, and we were within 1.5 miles of home. We kept hearing what sounded like an animal or bird call. I asked my husband, since he grew up in the Siskiyou County hunting and camping, what animal made that sound. He didn't recognize the sound and thought perhaps it was a bird. So while still hiking, I look around for the source of the sound. I noticed down by the creek, maybe 20 feet below the trail and 30 feet away, an animal licking water from the creek. At first I thought it was a bear, but realized it had no ears. At the same time I was looking at it, it looks up at me. Its eyes grew big and wide. I could see the whites. It looked human, and its eyes had expression. It turned around and began scurrying up the steep embankment. It was on all fours, but with bent knees. A human would call this a crab walk, with our asses sticking up in the air. This creature's back was level. It turned left, scurrying next to a large down log. Then turned right, uphill switchback, then stood upright, leaning up the hill, or running up the hill. All this while it was calling out, sounded fearful to something up the hill. It ran fast up the steep hill, running south. It was about 6 feet tall, short black hair, round head, arms swinging like a human when we run. The legs were skinny and long, no testicles between the thighs. It looked like a skinny, naked teenager who had growth spurt, weighing about 120 to 140 pounds, very tall and skinny. I've never crossed the creek to look at this creature. Until this, I didn't believe in Bigfoot, and having grown up in LA County till I was 26, I hadn't heard of it. My husband didn't see anything, and he does not believe in Bigfoot. It took me a few years of thinking about it before I started watching shows and reading up on it. I reached out to BFRO. It took them 6 months to respond. Okay, a couple things about this. First of all, your husband not believing. Policemen generally are analytical thinkers. I'm going to guess he spent zero time reading any books, doing any research on the topic. But with tens of thousands of Bigfoot stories and sightings. This is one book I wrote, Tribal Bigfoot. Also wrote another book called The Hoopa Project. And the book your husband needs to read is called Bigfoot, Wild Men, and Giants. And all it is news articles going back 300 years. And it describes a biped, just like Bigfoot, all over the world, in different countries. So to think it doesn't exist would be crazy. And then obviously he hasn't read our DNA project, where we got 110 DNA samples from North America, had them tested by 4 of the best labs, certified labs in the world, and got highly unique DNA. So I'm sure he doesn't know about that. But as I stated, anyone with an open mind, if you allow me to sit with you for an hour, I can almost guarantee I can make you a believer. The number one reason, that 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film is real. Walt Disney Corporation, that made the best costumes in the world, said at the time they couldn't make a costume that good. And if they were ever going to make a costume, they'd never make a costume that had breasts. So there you go. Next letter. Hey Dave, I've considered writing you for some time, but after some post on mental health, I could wait no longer. I have followed and admired your work for several years. I am thankful you have become an advocate for the missing and for truth. Your work is important and a blessing to a hurting world. I also appreciate your focus on community, caring, and reaching out to lend a helping hand. As a result of your influence, I received training and joined a search and rescue team. Way to go! That's it, village. Get involved. Help the people that need help. I too want to give back so that others may live. Thank you for the inspiration. Awesome. But my heart wishes to express more than simple gratitude, for I have also suffered with mental instability and have witnessed it within my family and community. It has led to intense pain in my life. As I listen to your testimony as you lay bare your heart and soul in countless videos, I feel compelled to join in tears with you. It is better, it is holy, to turn away from our own inner happiness to share sorrow with another. Part of me does not wish to be happy. If you are suffering a heavy burden, that is why I've adopted your soul in a sense and promised to offer special prayers for you every day. I and my wife will not forget you. We will support you spiritually as we have supported your vital work. Happiness and peace can also go missing. The devil constantly tries to take them from us. So in storms, we will pray for you all the more. Feel free to contact us if you need spiritual support. You are so nice. Thank you. Thank you. I think we all need spiritual support. I don't care what religion you are, what God you believe in. Everyone needs spiritual support. I remember once on Coast to Coast, maybe 15, 20 years ago, the host said, hey, one of my friends is in bad shape. We need to pray for his recovery. Please, could the hundreds of thousands of people out there just give us a minute of prayer? And that power of prayer supposedly saved this person's life. Personally, I believe in the power of prayer. Again, it doesn't matter your God. I believe they're listening. I believe that they care. You can think what you want about that. It's just me. Next letter. Hey Dave, something came to mind today. It's about UFOs and the missing, particularly about how fast some of the missing disappear. You know how a black hole slows down time significantly because of its massive gravitational field? In the same manner, anti-gravity should theoretically speed up. So if a UFO uses anti-gravity technology, then everything outside its anti-gravity field would seem really slow. That would give the operators of the craft ample time to abduct someone without them being spotted and without the parents of a child to realize what's happened. That would also explain how the craft seemed to accelerate from 0 to a couple of million miles per hour in just under 2 seconds. I know this because I've witnessed it with my own eyes. I once saw a craft accelerate from geosynchronous orbit towards outer space and was gone out of sight in 2 seconds. What if the phenomena we see with crafts zipping around fast and leapfrogging in time around the craft, moving far faster than our relative time. After all, Einstein's theory of relativity states that time is relative to the observer. So one might ask, what exactly is anti-gravity? To answer that, you have to ask, what is gravity? As far as we know, gravity is a force that matter possesses, which makes matters coalesce. Therefore, anti-gravity would be a force that would force matter apart, but it can't be the repulsive force of electromagnetism. The only other force I know of which forces matter apart is a force called dark energy. However, you don't want to get dark energy confused with dark matter. They're two different forces. While dark matter holds galaxies in place, dark energy pushes galaxies farther from one another and is responsible for the expansion of the observable universe. If an intelligent species among the stars has learned to harness dark energy, they can apply that knowledge toward many applications. Imagine if instead of traveling towards a planet in a spaceship, you actually get there by repulsing your ship towards that planet. It'd be like pushing yourself towards something. And maybe the time dilation that an outside observer would witness is a byproduct of that repulsive action. That's brilliant. I've run some simulations in my head, and the results point to one outcome. If you were on such a craft that used anti-gravity and generated dark energy to travel from one system to another, then from your perspective, time would go by at a normal rate, relatively speaking, while time outside the generated field, also from your perspective, will go slow and allow you to get from one destination to another in relatively short time. Anyone outside of the craft would see you go by really fast, but what they're really seeing is time going by really fast inside your energy field. I get it. However, this is different from Einstein's general theory of relativity in the sense that his theory is based on the speed of an object. His model states that if an object travels very fast, then time would slow down for that object, while time in a gravitational field such as that of Earth would speed up. So in a conventional craft capable of traveling near the speed of light, a trip from the closest star, Alpha Centauri, which is 4 light years away, 4 years will have passed by on Earth. But from the perspective of the craft's occupants, only days would have passed. The scenario was of a conventional craft, and it'd be infeasible for a trip to Alpha Centauri for a holiday getaway. Suppose that your craft is not conventional and does not accelerate to near the speed of light, but instead, it's not moving at all. In an anti-gravity craft which produces dark energy, it's time-space that actually expands and creates an effect that makes it seem like the craft moved. But the craft never moved. Time-space moved and forced the location of the craft to change rapidly. And because it's time-space that expands, the time expenditure of the occupants on the craft as well as the people on Earth remains unchanged. Now, that'd be weird. So how would an alien slow down time for an abductee or a missing? It's my belief that in cases where they don't want to be witnessed taking a missing person right in front of her family, the abductors use dark energy to create a field of time dilation along with some technology that then allows to either somehow navigate the affected field or to escort the abductee out of the field and onto the craft, or somehow cause the abductee to move out of the field and onto the craft without the abductor ever stepping into the affected area of the field. The latter case is what we know as a portal. It instantaneously moves the abductee onto the craft or elsewhere. Ben would have been... So, before I get into that, do you understand what this person's saying? You might need to replay that again, because this is pretty brilliant. And as I've told you before, the letters are good. Ben would have been an amazing friend to have, so I could talk to him about such subjects. And you know what? I wish he was around so I could talk to him about subjects. Ben and I used to talk about everything. I used to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I got to call him. I got to ask him about this. I miss him so much. Can't even begin to tell you. None of my friends care much about critical thinking. I do believe that we have a soul and that it exists in another plane, perhaps even uploaded to an ethereal cloud and then downloaded again to a newborn. I sometimes think that might be true because there's only a limited amount of souls. Some people have said. Some dreams have meanings that we don't yet understand. For example, I've occasionally seen the future in a dream which presented itself as déjà vu. I recently had a dream that felt so real, like I was right there. In the dream, I saw my grandfather waiting patiently at my grandmother's grave. In this world, my grandfather lived with much regret and worry. I could tell he was constantly worried. However, he was different. He was different now. Looking into his eyes, I could tell all his worries were gone. He was at peace. He was resting at peace. I think that my grandmother had been reborn and my grandfather is patiently waiting to see her again. A couple of days before he passed, I saw him and had his unshakable feeling that his time was almost here. The same with my grandmother. So I told my mom to spend more time with her mother because she didn't have much time left. My mom got upset with me, but listened to me and spent more time with her. Soon after, my grandmother passed away, and my mom was happy that she had spent that more time. If that is the case, then I'd hate to be rude to anyone in the future that could possibly be my grandmother or my sister or your son, Ben. Maybe we'll see our loved ones again in this world, if it's meant to be. If not, then we'll definitely see them again in the afterlife. You've got to try to live peace here, Dave, and trust that our Heavenly Father, the creator of this construct, will call the universe and of everything else. Sincerely, your friend, in the city of lunatics, LA. I live for the day I see Ben. Next letter. My name is blank. I'm a 30-year-old living in Pittsburgh, and I must say that the way I move, enjoying the city's great nightlife, could save me from being a sobering coincidence. Thank you for that. Thank you for being a solid male role model for myself and all men in generations after yourself. Not all of us villagers were fortunate to have a father like you in our lives. And you didn't ask for this, but you truly are appreciated more than you probably ever know. Wow. That made my day. Thank you. Commentary. I think sometimes men in this society aren't really men. They don't act like men sometimes. Humble, polite, strong on morality, strong on integrity, never take advantage of the weak, earn your way in life, don't get gifted it. Anyways, I just wanted to mention this issue to you. I've been subscribed to your channel for several years now and always have post notifications on all your posts, and I've never, ever get any notifications on your posts at all. It's not like it's hit or miss. I don't get anything at all. I have to manually search CanAm missing every couple days to see if you uploaded. I know YouTube has been giving away your channel issues for quite a while to the extent that you've searched out other options, but this issue I'm sure is affecting the majority of your subscribers. Lastly, not to take up your valuable time. Yeah, valuable time. But I may ask you a question. I'm just curious. As I grew up in Altoona, PA, in the center of the state, just south of State College, and moving to Pittsburgh as an adult, what do you believe is so strange about Pennsylvania? I enjoy the trails with my little dog and girlfriend, and we are always careful to look out for certain things. And I bought PLBs for both of us. Good job, personal locator beacons. But I would love to hear your thoughts on our beautiful home state and what makes it so strange. Also very interesting how there was a break in missing children from 42 to 46 during World War II. Curious what your thoughts were on this. I know you have hundreds of emails to go through constantly, so I'm not expecting you to spend time answering my 2 questions. Well, here you go. I like to surprise people every once in a while. Okay, so let's start. What's my take on Pennsylvania? And I'm not trying to dodge this, I wish I had one. It's between 2 huge bodies of water. It's between the Atlantic, it's between the Great Lakes. I think that's part of it. But there's something else that I don't get yet. It took me a while to figure this out. And I'm sure that I'll figure out Pennsylvania, hopefully before I die. But there was something going on in Pennsylvania that was taking a lot of kids. A lot of kids. Why the break during World War II? Wish I knew that too. Maybe if I keep digging deeper, I might fill that gap with kids. I don't know that I found. I don't know. Next letter. Hey Dave, my name is blank and I have a couple stories. First, let me say how heartbroken I was to hear about Ben. He was your heart. He is my heart. And it shows every time you speak of him. God bless you and yours. Now on to my stories. Giddy up. I was driving home one night coming from my parents' house. I would say it was early in the 90s. It was dark, about 9, I guess. On my left was a small mountain that I knew fairly well, and I'd driven around it as well as rode a school bus during my younger years. My youngest son was approximately 5 at the time and was in the back seat. Suddenly I saw what looked like bright headlights on top of this mountain. I thought, wow, those are bright. Then I thought the roads aren't up that high. The 2 lights then turned into a 3 in a triangle shape. And I said, what the heck? I kept my lights on it and it kept driving on. Suddenly on the other side of that road, I saw a strange object. It was maybe 50 feet above the pines, pretty close. It was an elongated football shape and totally dark. I could see what appeared to be a window in front of it barely lit. Freaking out, I pulled over, opened my car door, and got partially out to see better. You're pretty brave. It went right over me so I silently could still hear night sounds. I don't know if the 2 things were the same object or 2 different. I decided to skedaddle. The second story was around the same age, although the same time had passed. Of course, we were living in a small mobile home not far from town. The neighborhood was fairly quiet. Not too many people lived out there. The road we lived on was a dead end, off a dead end, so one way in and one way out. There were woods behind me, but if you walked through them, you would come out on the first dead end. It was pretty thick through there and would be hard to navigate if there were no trails. It was summer and we only had a window unit air conditioner, so the windows were open while we slept. I was the only person on this particular road most days as all my neighbors worked. I was a stay-at-home mom, but my son was still asleep. As was my habit, I got up, got a cup of coffee, and went to my couch, which was beside one of the open windows. There was someone standing right at the edge of the woods in my back. He looked wrong somehow. Kind of heavy-set with light-colored jeans and a too tight striped t-shirt. He was staring right at me. I could only think of the kid from Deliverance, as he looked like he could be mentally challenged. Now remember, no one else was at home in this neighborhood. I jumped up and opened the back door to let my dog out, as I knew she would bark and take off after this person. My dog went out and there was no one there. He didn't come up through my yard because it was large and no way he could move that fast. He didn't go through the woods because myself and the dog would have heard him walking on the leaves. So where did he go? I shut all the windows, locked them up as well as the door, and stayed vigilant the rest of the day, but never saw him again. Was it a spirit? I don't know, but I was freaked out. I have other stories, but this was long enough. Thanks for all you do in your research and talks on mental health, as well as the factual news. I love it. Is it a spirit visiting you? Somebody from your family who didn't want to scare you too bad by appearing inside your house? I don't know. I suppose I'd want to do a study on that plot of land you lived on and see if anyone died out there. I'd probably go out to the location where his body, or where you saw his apparition, and look around and see if I found a pile of dirt. Is there a murder out there? Is that person buried there? I don't know. Just what I do. Hey Dave, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the MUFON Symposium in Cincinnati. Great symposium. Some great people were there. After your presentation, you graciously signed a couple of books for me, and I was able to get a quick photo of you. It was wonderful to have you in my city for the weekend and greatly appreciated your time. When I was a young father, worked as a civilian contractor for the Air Force and was stationed at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. I remember him being gone quite a bit on temporary duty assignments that he could never discuss. But this is another story. It was 75 and I was delivering the morning newspaper each day before dawn. I had a buddy who had his own route, and we would often get to the paper branch at the same time to pick up our papers, at which point we would walk our newspaper-laden bikes up to a large hill and talk about 13-year-old boys always talk about 13-year-old girls. After our meeting chat, we would take off and start our own deliveries and then meet back up on the top of the hill to head home. One clear morning in early fall, I saw something unusual in the sky. It was about 5 miles west of the Air Force Base and hovering above the trees to the east was cigar-shaped metallic craft. It looked to be about the size of a football field in length and was making no sound. Living where we did, I was used to seeing large planes in the sky. There was a B-52 bomber wing stationed there at the time, and other large cargo planes often flew over the house. They always made a lot of noise. This thing was huge and silent. I would estimate the vehicle was less than a half mile away from me and stationary. The sun was coming up and produced a very defined backdrop to what I was seeing. I stood in the street and watched it for about a minute before it moved. After seeing hundreds of planes and helicopters in the skies over our neighborhood, this was obviously not one of those. It had no wings, no rotor. It was a metallic gray with no markings of any kind and no lights. Cigar-shaped objects are still seen a lot today. And of all the craft, they're really, to me, the most intriguing. Even a flying saucer has some aerodynamics, but a cigar doesn't, in my mind. After a minute, the thing started to rise in the direction of Wright-Patterson at about a 75-degree angle until it was out of sight. Again, it made zero noise, no visible means of propulsion. It left no vapor trail. And the speed at which it exited the atmosphere was like nothing I'd seen. It was out of sight in 3 seconds. I went ahead, delivered my papers, all the while thinking about what it was I'd just seen. When I returned to the top of the hill, my buddy was there waiting for me, and the first words out of his mouth were, "Did you see it?" I told him I had, and we had compared notes on what we saw. We had both watched this cylindrical object for about the same amount of time and saw it rise up and out of sight. Our stories matched up, and we confirmed each other. Neither of us heard anything. I will never forget that morning. The images burned into my memory. You know, certain times in life, images get burned into our memory. Is that purposeful? Is it meant for us not to forget it? I don't know. I later found out that in '75, there were many such sightings at or near military bases throughout the country. Since that day, I've been fascinated and perplexed by the topic. I found your latest movie, Missing 411, The UFO Connection, to be interesting and thought-provoking. I watched it 3 times and plan to revisit it again soon. You can buy the DVD from me or the Blu-ray from me at our website, North America, NABigfootsearch.com. You can also buy all of our Missing 411 books on our site, $24.99, and many of our Bigfoot books as well. NA North America, like North America, NABigfootsearch.com. Thanks for all you do, and I wish you, Angie, and Huck all the best. As someone who has had near-death experiences, again, a story for another day, I wish that there is more existence than we can see with our eyes or touch with our hands. And I believe that in a better place you will experience as much joy and happiness as you have suffered pain and loss in this world. God bless you. This is a photo that the man took with him, he and I, in Cincinnati. And there were many, many people I met just as nice as this man. And that's one of the blessings. One of the blessings of being able to go to these conferences. So many nice people. And you finally put a face with a good soul. Thank you to everyone who comes out and sees me. I'm blessed. Lastly, you guys are going to want to come to this MontanaCon. It's in Kalispell, Montana, October 8th. Put your freeze frame that. Put your phone over it. That's the QR code to the conference. Get tickets there. Some of the speakers. We've got a Navajo Ranger that's going to talk about his research with Bigfoot and aliens. Ron Moorhead, Scott Nelson, Joe Hauser, Tom Powell, Jim Myers. You gotta go, folks. That's gonna be a great conference. So, thank you for being here. Follow me on Twitter, David Paulides at CanAm Missing, Truth Social, David Paulides at CanAm Missing, and on our website, which I've given you. In the meantime, be nice to your neighbors. Be nice to the people in your store that you see. Help some people that are in distress. Be that good, friendly person. Smiles cost nothing. Paulides out.